Google Move Instrument. This Google Move instrument permits you to check your rankings on every one of the three devices www, www2 and www3 and on each of the 9 data centers all the while. The Google Web Index works in blend of the Google Search Innovation and the Netscape Open Catalog task, which makes it conceivable to look through the web sorted out by theme. Google shows the pages arranged by the rank given to it utilizing the PageRank innovation. It not just quests the titles and depictions of the sites, yet look through the whole substance of locales inside a related classification, which at last conveys a complete pursuit to the clients. Google additionally has a completely useful web catalog which orders all the pursuits all together. Presenting your URL to Google. Google is essentially a completely programmed web index with no human mediation associated with the inquiry procedure. It uses robots known as spiders to slither the web all the time for new updates and new sites to be remembered for the Google list. This robot programming follows hyperlinks from site to site. Google doesn't necessitate that you ought to present your URL to its database for incorporation in the record, as it is done at any rate naturally by the spiders. In any case, manual accommodation of URL should be possible by heading off to the Google site and tapping the related connection. One significant thing here is that Google doesn't acknowledge installment of any kind for site accommodation or improving PageRank of your site. Additionally, presenting your web page through the Google site doesn't ensure posting in the record. Shrouding. Now and then, a website admin may program the worker so that it returns diverse substance to Google, then it comes back to ordinary clients, which is frequently never really web index rankings. This procedure is alluded to as shrouding, as it disguises the real site and returns contorted site pages to web search tools creeping the web page. This can misdirect clients about what they'll discover when they click on an output. Google exceptionally objects to any such practice and may put a prohibition on the site which is seen as liable of shrouding. Google rules. Here are a portion of the significant hints and deceives that can be utilized while managing Google. Do's. A site ought to have perfectly clear chain of importance and connects and ought to ideally be anything but difficult to explore. A sitemap is required to enable the clients to circumvent your site, and on the off chance that the sitemap has in excess of 100 connections, at that point it is fitting to break it into a few pages to maintain a strategic distance from myth. Come up with basic and exact catchphrases and ensure that your site highlights important and enlightening substance. The Google crawler won't perceive text covered up in the picture, so while depicting significant names, catchphrases or connections, stay with plain content. The title and alt labels ought to be distinct and exact, and the site ought to have no rect connections or off-base HTML. Dynamic pages, the URL comprising of a character, ought to be kept to a base, as few out of every odd web crawler creepy crawly can slither them. The robots.txt document on your web worker ought to be current and ought not hinder the Googlebot crawler. This document tells crawlers which registries can or can't be crept. Don'ts. When causing a site, don't swindle your clients, for example those individuals who will ride your site. Try not to furnish them with unessential substance or present them with any deceitful plans. Avoid deceives or connect plans intended to build your site's positioning. Do not utilize shrouded messages or concealed connections. Google disapproves of sites utilizing shrouding method. Henceforth, it is fitting to keep away from that. Automated questions ought not be sent to Google. Avoid stuffing pages with superfluous words and substance. Likewise, don't make different pages, sub-areas, or spaces with fundamentally copy content. Avoid entryway pages made only for web crawlers or other cutout approaches, for example, offshoot programs with scarcely any unique substance.